Welcome everybody to the Tuesday edition of the Streakers Island podcast. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst, and I am joined by the usual suspects. They might be hiding an event. They need their milk. It's Chazzy, the CEO, and more for your money.
Woo!
That was not a good woo, but that's okay. Woo! That was better. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Guys, we have a action-packed show for everyone tonight. We're going to talk about the Leafs and could they be bringing in some brotherly love? The Edmonton Oilers have lost 3 straight. Interesting fact there. And they have not played good since the Four Nations has ended. Could they be making some moves? We're going to be talking spring training and what that means for the Blue Jays so far. A little bit of CFL sprinkled in there, some potential retirement in the NBA, and so much more. But let's get right into the Toronto Maple Leafs here. And everyone knows the Leafs is what everyone wants to talk about. Like, Chazzy loves Leafs talk. It's his favorite part of the day. He wakes up every morning and tells his wife not how his day's going, not that he needs milk. He talks about the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs, it's the same thing that's said every year going into deadline. They need secondary scoring and defense. You'd think by now they'd figure out that they should just get secondary scoring and defense, but no, this happens every year. I think the conversation's finally put to bed. But when you're talking secondary scoring and defense, could you see the Luke Schenn brothers come to Toronto? You have Luke Schenn, who's a great shutdown defenseman, who's had success in Morgan Riley. You have Brady Schenn, who's won a Stanley Cup, would be phenomenal in that third line position. And then Max Domi can go make cupcakes.
Luke Schenn's won 2 Stanley Cups.
That's 3 Stanley Cup between the brothers.
That's right.
So, Chazzy, I want to start with you here because I know Dan's just going to say it's great because he wants Luke Schenn's kids. But wants to have his kids, I mean. But Chazzy, do you think this move could actually happen, and does it make sense?
I don't know the legitimacy of if it's going to happen or not, but it almost felt last night that Nicky Robertson and Domi were having a dress rehearsal for seeing what's out there and who's going to pick them up and their trade audition, we can call it. They did have a heck of a game. If that trade's going to happen or not, obviously will help your blue line in that 6-man D rotation. Like you said, they got some experience with Morgan Riley, which might spark him again going into the playoffs. So if it happens, not sure, but we'll leave it to Moore to share his excitement.
So what do you think, Dan? Do you think this trade's actually going to happen?
I would love it to happen. Like an NHL 25, that would definitely make it happen. I don't know how the logistics of the cap would exactly work, but it'd be awesome if it was a freeway trade with Toronto, Nashville, and St. Louis. And you think about it, it's good for Toronto because Braden Center would be an awesome third-line center, and Luke Schenn would be an awesome top 6 defenseman. Like you mentioned, Jacob, he's got the history of Morgan Riley. And I think going the other way, I think Nick Robinson would definitely go the other way. I think there's a possibility a Domi would go the other way. I think Parkus Holberg would definitely go the other way as well. So I'm not too sure what team would get what and who would get who and how the capital work. But hey, if the 3 of them could figure it out, I mean, freeway trades, the salary caps is more common now. Look at the Wetinen trade. That was a freeway trade, right? So having a freeway trade is not totally unrealistic here.
And I want to say too here, I think this trade, number one, I think it does make sense if they can swing it because the third line, I agree it's had its moments, but it hasn't been consistent. I think in the playoffs, you need a really dominant third line. I'm sure Luke and Brady have both wanted to play with each other because I think it'd be fun for them as brothers to get to play on the same team. There's history in Toronto of Luke, and I don't believe he left on bad terms at least the second time. The first time he did. But the second time it more came down to when management was just in the process of switching new GMs, and Nashville offered him a deal that he felt he couldn't refuse. But I think for Nashville, I could see Nashville really wanting Nick Robertson as that offensive piece. Or I'm going to say maybe this at the time when Toronto moves on from Steves. Alexander Steves, who has been one of your greatest Marlies, who's never really been able to consistently stay in the lineup. And he's a guy that I think showed this week. He's got some offensive talent. He has publicly said he feels he can score at the NHL level. And Nashville can't score to save their lives. They need some young blood in there. So you can do Steves or Robertson to Nashville. And then I would say Max Domi over to the Blues and throw in a couple draft picks in there, because I think you're going to have to give up minimum second-round picks to get both of these guys, which I think that's fine. I think if you're Toronto, you have no issues of trading these draft picks, because Toronto's in a win-now mode, not a win-next-year mode. And the win-now mode, especially with the pressure of Marner and Tavares' contract coming up, and let's just be honest, the hype around Mitch Marner after assisting the game-winning goal for Team Canada, right? Like, there is more of a hype around him. John Tavares just went to bed, so maybe that lowers the hype on him a little bit. But I do think this trade makes sense for Toronto. I'm not saying it does get done, because it does make it more complicated than being on different teams. I still feel the Leafs should go get Brock Nelson. I'm going to keep saying it. If the Islanders end up slipping even more down the standings, Brock Nelson's a guy that's had playoff success, and he's a guy that you can move up and down your lineup. I don't think Brady Schen's a second or top line center anymore. Where I think Brock Nelson, if push came to shove and you had to move him into a higher role, he can handle it.
You're saying Brock Nelson's a first-line center and Braden Schenn isn't?
I'm not saying Brock Nelson
is a Stanley Cup winner. He's the captain of the team. He's huge. He's physical. What has Brock Nelson done? Played like 5 minutes with Team USA?
Okay, Brock Nelson has been to the conference finals multiple times, leading the charge on the offense.
How many cups?
Leading the charge on the offense.
How many cups?
The charge. Doesn't matter. Then why you can talk about how many cups? Most of your favorite players never won a Stanley Cup.
That's why I want cup-winning players on the league.
We have enough cup-winning players.
Well, let's get more of them.
No, just because you won a cup doesn't mean you're going to win a cup again.
Good chance.
Brock Nelson is legitimately that perfect balance of offensive and grit. Brady Schenn is the grit, but I don't know if he brings enough offensive flair to that third line anymore.
Well, let's find out. I think he's got a few plays.
He's moving closer. He wants to speak.
Well, no, I'm looking up Braden Schenn's stats because I don't know on top of my head.
Yeah, but Braden Schenn has been a top 6 forward in St. Louis this year, and it's not been a great year for him. But St.
Louis sucks. The whole team sucks, bro.
Okay, but you can't
play him on a good team. You put Braden Schenn on a third line with Max Pacioretty and Bobby McMahon. He'll be very good. You put him on some power play times. Yeah, dude, he's got 12 goals, 21 assists, 33 points in 58 games.
That's nowhere near top line. That's him getting top line minutes right now. That's him
playing with who?
Minutes a game.
Playing with who?
He's supposed to be such a great player. Austin Matthews can score 40, 50 goals with no one. Sidney Crosby can turn nobodies into 40 goal scorers.
I'm just saying, give Braden Schenn better players to play with. And Brock Nelson's pretty well the same. 17 goals, 19 assists. We're very similar players,
but not in a top line role. He's doing that, getting second to third line minutes. That's the difference. So you got to look at production per minute. And Brock Nelson has better production per minute than Brady Schenn.
Yeah, but
nothing. That's a stat.
No, I'm just making does Braden Schenn really get top line minutes?
Yes, he does. He's on the top line in St. Louis.
He's only getting Braden Schenn in the last 5 games only gets 16, 17 minutes a game. So I don't see him getting top line minutes.
That's top line minutes.
Top line minutes is 20 minutes, bro.
Not for a forward.
Maybe on the blue line, yeah.
If you're a center, anywhere from 14 to 17 minutes is top line minutes.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I'm not saying Brady Schenn's a bad player. He's a very good player. But I'm saying if you can't get him, you pivot to a guy like Brock Nelson.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I prefer Brock Nelson over Brady Schenn for what the team needs. But if the only way to bring a guy like Luke Schenn, who is that dominant big defenseman that I think they need, if you get Brady Schenn as well, it's not a bad decision by any means. And then maybe you bring them in You don't need a guy like Ryan Reeves in the lineup anymore. Because let's be honest, Revo has not worked.
So are you bringing these guys in as rental players for the playoff push?
Yeah, rental players, 100%. And then if they go out first round again, then you decide, do we need more of this and we let a guy like Marner go? Or do we keep Marner and keep rejigging the bottom six and the defense? Because that's what basically the Leafs have been doing.
Now, if you go out second round, do you split up your top four?
Yes. Unless it goes like 7 games, triple overtime, weird bounce. This team needs to be bare minimum conference finals.
I agree 100%.
Wow.
Second round is not enough. We've been to the second round and we got the doors blown off us by Florida.
Yeah.
As a Leaf fan, and Leafs Nation wants more. They want conference finals, bare minimum.
Bare minimum, yeah.
Like I think when we can pivot here now to the Edmonton Oilers, and we'll get back to the Leafs in a little bit because there's a Leafs Bruins game coming up that's really exciting. We can pivot over now to the Edmonton Oilers. They're a team that I would argue is cup or bust. Yeah. Chazzy, would you agree with me? Edmonton is cup or bust?
Yeah, absolutely, because that window's closing.
Dan, Edmonton, cup or bust?
Cup.
Okay, so we're saying it's a cup or bust year for Edmonton. They've lost 3 straight, both coming out of the Four Nations games, getting blown out. So what's the problem? And I think for Edmonton, it is time to admit your goaltending tandem of Skinner and Pickard is just not good enough.
Was an AHL tandem at best.
I get Stuart Skinner had a pretty good playoff run last year. Right. I truly think that is the best you're ever going to get out of Stuart Skinner. Yeah. I don't see him doing that again this year because he's been so inconsistent this year. He's either playing out of his freaking mind or he looks like he should go to the mines. Like Edmonton fans must be so bloody frustrated, especially when you see the way a guy like Cam Talbot's playing in Detroit and realizing you could have got him if you didn't sign Skinner to that contract.
You did have him.
You did have him. But I mean, you let him go thinking he's too old. Well, he's proving in Detroit in a tandem system, he's still a decent goalie. Yeah. Which I don't think Edmonton needs Vezina caliber goaltending.
They need a veteran that they can rely on, like a John Gibson.
Oh, Gibson would be such a good fit in Edmonton.
I had another option. Bennington.
If Florida's willing to move Bennington, and depending on how he plays until the deadline.
St. Louis? Yeah.
You could see him go there.
A lot of rumors are around their defense, though. I've seen a lot of speculation. Like, obviously, this could be a long shot, but Seth Jones, he's just got a big contract. More of that offense, big guy in the blue line. They just brought in Klingberg there a few weeks ago. He's scored, but another one's Rasmus Rostelin out of Philly could obviously add. So it seems to be on the blue line, and like you say, goaltending is sort of we need to make a couple moves there.
Because I see people criticize Edmonton's secondary scoring. I think they have enough secondary scoring. I'm not saying secondary scoring is perfect, but I think it's good enough.
A lot better than last year.
We just think like Jeff Skinner's been working really well.
He has. And in a salary cap era, you're never going to get all 3 phases of hockey perfect, right? And your 3 phases are offense, like top 6 scoring, defense, and bottom 6 scoring, and then goaltending. So I guess your 4 phases, really. You're probably only going to get 2 to 3 of them. And I'd say right now Edmonton's got really good top 6, a decent bottom 6, and okay defense. It depends if Evan Bouchard is playing like Evan Bouchard of last year, Evan Bouchard from his rookie year. And I'm just going to say this. I think Edmonton has one of the weakest goaltending tandems out of the teams that are in the playoffs. I think that's where you have to spend your money. You can't afford, I'm escaping now, but the defenseman you were just talking about, he's so expensive, his name is gone.
Steph Jones?
Yes, you can't afford Steph Jones.
Well, they said, potentially if Chicago took half of his contract, they could make it, but Edmonton's like Toronto. They got salary cap issues.
Well, I'll just say it too. As much as Stuart Skinner is not a great goalie, he's got Edmonton's defense is very offensive focus. It's not very defensive focus. So that's, maybe we got a heavyweight defenseman to play back for like, well, would be brought Labuskin into Edmonton, right? Someone like that. And let's just be honest here. No one has the balls to say it, but let's be honest. Darnell Nurse was a terrible contract. $9.5 million to watch him play worse than Morgan Riley. This year, okay?
So riddle me this then. Do you move Darnell Nurse to bring in a starting goalie and a depth defenseman? Because at $9.5 million, you can go get a John Gibson or a Jordan Binghamton or the guy from Utah, Vanacki, right? And you can bring in a decent defenseman like a Luke Shen.
But who's going to want Darnell Nurse?
Honestly, I think there are teams that'd be willing to take a chance at him because Darnell Nurse a couple years ago was pretty darn good. Darnell Nurse a couple years ago when you were building your fantasy Team Canada teams in NHL 22 was making that team. So I think a team like Chicago would be willing to take on that contract as a risk because if it doesn't pan out, whatever, the team sucks anyways and they got to get to the minimum salary.
Yeah, because I'll go up next year.
If it does work, you have a really solid defenseman. And then you use that. And either that, if you're dealing with Chicago, maybe bring in Mrazek as a tandem guy to play with Skinner.
Yeah.
If you have Mrazek and Skinner versus Skinner and Picard, that's not terrible. Right? So I think Edmonton, I think they're going to be wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
I think they have to because I think this is a cup or bust year, especially since they went to the cup finals last year. And I'm not even saying goaltending was the reason why they lost that Stanley Cup finals because it wasn't. I thought Stuart Skinner played okay. He's been worse this year than he was last. I don't see him having a long playoff run. I think that if you're Edmonton, you can probably only upgrade one area because as much as we say, do you trade Darnell Nurse? They won't. So, and you say about bringing in the big defenseman, they brought in Ekholm last year. I think that was the big upgrade to the defense. Well, I think now you got to upgrade the goaltending because that's the one area you haven't really. Yeah, you tried with Jack Campbell and it was a total disaster. So I think this is the time now Edmonton looks at the mirror and says it's time to bring in a real goalie.
Well, when I say upgrade defense, I'm not saying get a Seth Jones. I'm saying get like a 5th, 6th Labuskin type of defenseman. Get someone under $3 million that can block shots. Look how much better the Maple Leafs are this year with Tanev and McCabe as a set-down pairing, right? You look at Edmonton's defense, they don't have a set-down pairing.
Yeah, but with bringing in Ekholm, in theory, Ekholm and Bouchard is that top pairing of a mix of offense and defense.
No, I'm not saying a top pairing. I'm saying like a bottom 3 set-down pairing that plays a good 12, 15 minutes a game, but they block shots, they hit heavy, they fight, that kind of thing. You don't have that on Edmonton. Both Bouchard and Ekholm are great top defensemen, but they're not going to get down on their knees and block 100-mile-an-hour slap shots. You don't want them to.
But you have to remember, this is a salary cap world. And the salary cap world, you can't fix the defense. You can't improve the defense and improve the goaltending. All you're going to do is make both areas slightly better, but not good enough. So you got to pick one. And I think if you're Edmonton, you went and made the big defenseman move last year. It has to be goaltending.
Yeah, I can see that.
It has to be.
Mrazek would be a nice backup.
You got to do personally.
Pekka's not really a good backup.
If you're willing to move enough draft picks, I think Gibson will be the best goalie available. He does have playoff experience. Yes, his numbers aren't great, but when he's in Anaheim, no one's numbers are good.
Well, don't forget, Anaheim just made a trade with Detroit today for getting Husso. So if Anaheim got another top caliber goalie, maybe Anaheim knows that we're trading Gibson next week or so.
You do start to wonder, maybe this is a sign of the times.
Yeah.
This is time that Edmonton finally just makes that big move to try to really bring it home a cup. And I think it has to be goaltending.
Yeah.
But let's jump back again to the Maple Leafs. As you mentioned, the Leafs have been so much better since they brought in Tanev and McCabe as the shutdown pairing. So Toronto Maple Leafs play the Boston Bruins tonight. And let's be honest, Toronto-Boston's always a heck of a game. Chazzy, even you can agree you might rather see the Leafs win than the Bruins. I know you as a Habs fan, you can't cheer for the Bruins.
Yeah, well, Boston's reeling here with 3, and then McAvoy's still out. So
McAvoy's still out. There's rumors about Marchand being on the move. Boston is not in a good place right now. However, I still feel every time Toronto plays Boston, it is kind of a statement game for them just because of how much struggles they've had against them. Now, mind you, they usually beat them in the regular season, then lose them in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to my pick here. And remember, if you want to play with us on the Streakers app, find our sports booth on the Streakers app. Look up the Streakers Island podcast and broadcasters and podcasters, and you'll find us. We're pretty cool people. But I'm going to take the Leafs this one, and I'll be honest, I think this game gets ugly. I think Toronto gets a lead early and Boston starts to run around. And if I'm Toronto, Ryan Reeves is in my lineup for this night just because of that situation. I'm going to say Toronto 5-1. I think it's going to be a blowout and the game's going to get ugly. Chazzy, what are your thoughts?
I'll say Boston 4-2.
Whoa.
Okay, quickly. Does that hurt you as a Habs fan to pick Boston?
No.
All right, more.
I don't like Toronto that much more. So
Boston or Toronto?
I picked Toronto, and I think this is a bigger statement game for Boston than Toronto. Because let's be honest, Boston wants to be sellers buyers going in deadline. Right now, there's probably going to be sellers. Every 2 points is going to make a big difference. I think Toronto will get a lead early, like, a 3-0 lead. And look how Toronto almost blew the lead in Carolina the other night, right? So I think Boston will win in an overtime 4-3.
Sorry, what did you just say?
Yeah, I think Boston's going to win in overtime 4-3.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I want Toronto.
Here's that from you.
Man.
Okay, then. So since you think Boston's going to magically all of a sudden remember how to play hockey.
They do every year this time of year.
Do you think Boston is going to turn it around and become a buyer at the deadline?
Yes.
Why?
Because of Boston. You look at players like Marchand, and you look at players like McAvoy and Pasternak, okay? They got big shoes to fill with Patrice Bergeron being out. No! This is legit, bro!
I haven't read the book yet today, so...
Why not does Boston call up Chicago and bring Bertuzzi back? Bertuzzi worked well last time. They lost Jake DeBrusk of free agency. They bring in Bertuzzi. Boom.
Boston is going to sell.
The run is over.
Sell.
Buy, like in sync. Buy.
But they will win tonight.
They will not, and they're going. I think this is finally the era of the Boston Bruins dominant. I would say they've been dominating the Eastern Conference, kind of like Tampa has. Right, and you're starting to see teams like Boston and Tampa, although Tampa's still okay. Boston's in too hard of a division. You can't be an okay team in this division and do well. And I think for Boston, they are going to sell. I think we could see Brad Marchand being moved. I think there's a possibility they try to somehow get out of this Jeremy Swayman contract that clearly hasn't worked. I don't know if you give it another year. You might try to move him while he's worth something.
I think he worth? He's not nothing.
He's worth something still because it's only 1 year in his contract. Maybe you don't want to wait like the Jack Campbell situation. Edmonton could have got something in his first year when he was just so-so.
Do you feel the drama leading up to that signing sort of had an effect to this year for Boston?
Yeah, but I don't think that's an excuse. It's
not an excuse, but obviously it sort of affected the...
But I'm going to bring this up here. You look at William Nylander when there was all that drama around his signing. Then he came in, he did fine, and the Leafs went out first round like they always do. At least there was nothing else that went any worse. I think Boston, truthfully, I think they underestimated how much of a difference Bergeron and Krejci made to this team.
No, Bergeron
playoffs last year, but they had two Vezina caliber goalies. It's kind of hard not to make the playoffs when you have that. And I think it's time for Boston to. I don't think Boston fans are happy with first round exits either. So I think it's time to sell. If you don't feel this team can win a cup, and you feel it needs new pieces to win a cup, then get bad. Get bad, build for the future. But you know what the future holds for us? An NHL trade deadline preview show.
Ooh.
So we are going to do something very new on the Streakers Island podcast, and we're going to go live.
Oh.
We might need a squaring button for Dan.
You see those beads of sweat?
But we're going to go live on the Streakers Island podcast to Facebook at least and hopefully TikTok. And we are going to give you our live analysis on who we think's on the move, who's going to stay, who's going to go. Dan and I will probably argue at some point. Chazzy will have to run and get milk because there's going to be no commercials in this. So hopefully Chazzy just has this jug of milk. Like I'm thinking like a whole bag of 2%. Chazzy, you are a 2% milkman, right?
Oh, I had 2%.
See, I knew it. But make sure you watch out for the promos on that because we will be having our first ever live show. And then let us know what you prefer. Live versus pre-taped. 1v1. Make sure you remember 1v1. But we got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Joel Embiid and his sore knee. And what does that mean for his future? We'll be right back. The Streakers Island podcast is here, baby. We're talking NHL, CFL, NFL, and of course, those grassroots sports and so much more. Make sure you tune in every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Welcome to the island. Welcome back, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast. I'm glad you didn't actually leave because Dan said bye. Like, don't go anywhere yet. Dan just meant bye to our voice to go to a commercial that might have been voiced by me. But that's the point. Remember, anyone, if you want to advertise on the Streakers Island podcast, make sure you reach out to us on our social media platforms. Yada, yada, yada. Insert advertisement here. Let's get into some NBA talk. And right away, we need to get some fake news out of the way. That's a term I hate using in Canada. And talk about Joel Embiid. So there was a rumor that he had retired. That's not true, but he might be. So should he retire? He hasn't had a great year this year. Let's be honest. He doesn't even like to play every second game. And looking at his injury history, he's been pretty much banged up since 2014. Like, there's not really a break in this strain from 2014 to this year where he isn't dealing with an injury. So, Chazzy, I want to say this to you. Do you think Joel Embiid might just hang it up? Like, do you think he's got that drive to try to win a championship, or would he might just rather go home and drink margaritas?
No, that by my a couple of years ago, you could see in his when he won the MVP, or did he win the MVP a couple of years ago, or he was 1-2? You could see he wanted that, and then obviously he played the whole year, I think, that year, and obviously that's broken down on his body the last couple. He hasn't really had a consistent sort of playing time here. But yeah, no, Joel Embiid is a champion at heart. He wants to bring a championship to Philadelphia. When I saw this news, I'm like, wow, how old is he? 30. He's done all this, but it's he's a big boy, right? So knee, like you said, he's got injuries since early in his career, and these guys are big boys. The knees start to break down and stuff. But yeah, hopefully he can come back, because you're saying season-ending surgery. Is he able to come back from that? Will he be able to be the same player? So it's heartbreaking because he is so competitive and he's such a big piece to Philadelphia's success. As we can see, they just can't get it going this year with all the stars they have in their lineup, right? So, I hope not. But with this latest news, it's not looking good.
No, I'll say, I think if Joel Embiid doesn't retire, he doesn't play another game in Philly. I think Philly moves on from him. He can't stay healthy. Yeah. And clearly, I'm not trying to be whatever, but even in his best years, it wasn't enough. We look at when the Raptors beat them with that Kawhi Leonard, one of the weirdest game-winning shots I watched in basketball. And I felt that was the year that Joel Embiid was playing at his best. And it just wasn't good enough. I don't think Joel Embiid is a number one on a team that can win a championship. I think he's your number two. And I think Philly thought he would be their number one guy. I'm also assuming Kyle Lowry's not going to come back next year. I think he's going to sign in Toronto and do a victory lap in Toronto. But cool. I look at Philly, and I think Embiid, if he plays again this year, fine. But next year, if he doesn't retire, he will not come back as a 76er. It just doesn't make any sense. He hasn't gotten along with Nick Nurse. I almost said Darnell Nurse. Talk about him in the last segment. But he hasn't get along with Nick Nurse either in the coaching staff. I really think...
Are they related? Oh, wait, no, we're not. Never mind.
They're definitely not related.
Let's hear Nurse.
Time to move on. So, Chazzy, where could you see Embiid going if he doesn't retire and if he gets moved? Who do you think might take a chance on the injury-prone superstar?
You might be able to see him go somewhere high market like LA, take a chance because they could get him maybe cheap, right? Not big with the big contract. Golden State, somewhere that's sort of on that cusp. Minnesota, someone that's on that cusp to sort of like take him over. And if he's healthy, like he averages 32 points a game, and he can hit the three. And he's became that dynamic all-around player over the last few years until these injuries have just caught up to him.
And you know what? I'd love him on the Lakers in a load management system where, he doesn't got to play every game and he doesn't have to take every single ball running the offense because you have LeBron James and Doncic. So, like, you have enough other offensive pieces, especially LeBron James, that it won't be a problem. So, yeah, I would love to see him there. I don't see him going to with Steph Curry unless they move on from Green, which is also a possibility. Draymond. So,
well, he's saying they're all in on the championship this year. So we'll see what the. But
the deadline's done this year in the NBA, is it not?
No, but I'm just saying Draymond Green, since he's saying that they're going to win the championship.
I would highly doubt that. If they win the championship, I will cut a little bit of my hair with these scissors.
No, don't.
Right, we got this on video because he's saying with Jimmy Butler the third in town, it's a whole new dynamic.
Jimmy Butler just looks like he's about to star in the new Marianas Trench music video. Come on. But let's take a look at those NBA standings here.
Well, I was just going to say, with Joel Embiid, let's just be honest here. It's very issue with him keeping in shape if he keeps getting injured over time.
I don't think so. The guy seems like a competitor as much as
he's still big. Like, he's just a big boy.
Yeah.
Why not put in the Raptors?
He will not come to Toronto.
No
way. He'll retire.
No.
Yeah, if he traded to Toronto, he's just like, okay, I'm done. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Too cold. But when we look at the NBA, and let's stick to the East now here. When we look at these standings here, and one thing that has pleasantly surprised me, the Raptors are only 4 games behind of a play-in spot.
Which is only 4 games.
Okay, but considering how terrible they were, especially before the new year, I think the Raptors have something to look forward to. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs this year, which then the fans are probably almost upset that they're winning as much as they are at times because it's making us getting a worse draft pick. But when I look at these teams in the East, I think Cleveland's got an amazing shot of really running the table this year. But a team that I've been surprised about is the Bucks. I really thought they'd be better even by now. I get they're sitting 5th, winning 32 games, lost 24. A lot of 4-game winning streak, but I really feel with Giannis Antetokounmpo, that team should be better than what it is.
Who?
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
That's a cool name. I like it.
That is the analyst from Dan Moore on basketball. But
I love how you say it too. Say it again.
Antetokounmpo.
Wow, dead perfect. You just pronounced that perfect.
Razzie, can you give me a team in the East that you're a little surprised with where they're sitting right now in the standings?
I'm not so much surprised because you could see this team over the last couple of years how young they are, but the Detroit Pistons. I don't know what they got going on in the last couple of years, but they're obviously building up from the foundation with some of their young stars. So the Pistons, watch it for Pistons. They're mid-pack right now, just behind the Bucks. So
yeah, they're currently sitting 6th. You know what? They're on a 7-game streak right now, 31-26, winning over half of their games. Which, funny enough, in the NBA, you can be an under 500 club and make the playoffs. It's very different to other leagues, but Yeah, I think the Pistons are a prime example of just trusting the system, right? They haven't been very good for a while, and people are like, oh, move on from Cunningham. He's not working, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, the Detroit
He's actually having a really good year.
He's having a great year. He's in
Yeah.
a three-point competition. I want to say, too, a team that I am pleasantly surprised with, all things considered, is the Miami Heat. Considering all the drama they've dealt with Jimmy crying buckets, I think considering that looks like they're going to hover and at least keep a play-in spot. I know they're 3-7 in their last 10, but they do have some young studs. I really think Tyler Hero is a big future piece for that team, the way he can shoot the three ball.
Well, he's become their star now since they've moved on.
And,
don't you find that they've sort of underachieved, or do you blame more of the Jimmy Buckets
I think
drama?
It's the Jimmy Buckets issue. I think next year the Heat are probably a mid-pack team and not a play-in team. They're a team
they should be a lot higher.
I think could actually win a round or two in the NBA playoffs. Because remember, the NBA playoffs are right around the corner.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think for the Raptors at least, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs or the play-in this year. Dan, what are your thoughts? I can see you.
Well,
good job.
I did put it in my notes that they weren't going to make it this year. However, I was stupid and didn't look where they were in the standings. Now that I know that they're only 4 games behind,
you know for sure they're not?
I'm going to surprise everyone and say that they're going to make it. I think they're going to make it. They got better at trade deadline. There's a lot of excitement going on with the team. I mean, Brady Dick's awesome in TV commercials. So, yeah, I think they're going to make it.
I'm still reeling from your Bruins pick.
I will say for the Raptors, though, I do like the young talent from them, and I do believe they got better. And they haven't been healthy this year. If they were healthy this year, they're probably a play-in team. They're probably hovering between 10 and 8 if they're healthy.
Yeah,
because when they've been healthy, they've actually looked pretty decent. When you're with your core of Quickly, Barnes, and Barrett, I think there's enough there that you're probably a play-in team and you're getting very close to 6, which means you can skip the play-in round. So I think the Raptors are right there. I think this is the year you just continue to try to build on and get ready for next year. Get a decent draft pick this year. Bring in some more young talent. Continue to develop your guys with the Raptors 905 in that league and just get a bit better. But the Raptors have... Sorry, Dan?
That's G League, right?
The G League. But the Raptors have a very, very tall task coming up. They play the Boston Celtics.
Well, they are 7 feet tall, are they?
Who?
Basketball players, they're tall dudes.
Are currently sitting.
Porzingis is, yeah.
Boston Celtics are currently sitting second in the East. They've won 9 of their last 10.
Well, they won last year, the whole championship, right?
It's going to be a tough one for Toronto. So I'm going to say quickly, I think the Raptors are going to lose this one. Chazzy, do you think the Raptors are going to win or lose?
Lose.
More for your money, win or lose?
Challenge me on speakers if they're going to win somehow.
All right, so we're trying something new in our sports booth as well here. So make sure you're playing along here. Will the Raptors get over 90.5 points? I'm going to say...
How do you get half a point in basketball?
No. So 90.5 means you basically think they're going to get 90 or over 90 or under 90. 90.5 would be your over-under.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Because you're right, you can't get a half. So
the ball going,
you're either under or you're over.
There's half the ball going. Is that when that kind of wiggles on the hoop and kind of bounces in and bounces out? That's considered half a point.
Yeah.
So,
Boopers.
do you see the Toronto Raptors? Chazzy, let's get this back on track here. So this is why I'm really worried about going live for our trade deadline show in a couple weeks. But do you
still see the beads of sweat?
Can the Raptors get over 90 points, do you think, against Boston?
Over 90? You know what? I will give them over 90 points, yes. I think they'll score over 90.
Dan, are they going to score at least 91 points? That's basically the question.
Well, having to win, I think they're going to win the game, Bo. And usually to win in the NBA, you got to get over 90 points. So I would say yes. I do know that. In order to win the game in basketball, you need at least triple-digit points. No more.
Okay, so speaking of triple digits, will Toronto be able to hold Boston under triple digits?
No, not a chance.
No. I think this game's going to be like a 127 to like 89.
Oh, blowout. Wow.
Yeah. This game will be close.
Is this in Toronto?
Good question. It's on the earth.
It's in North America. I know that.
I will say for the Raptors, the key in this game is to not fall behind early in the first quarter, because that's been a real problem for them of late. Yeah. They're basically losing games in the first quarter. I do think they legitimately need to keep Boston out of triple digits to win this game if they're going to win, which I don't think they will. But if they're going to, they have to keep.
Hey, in order to make the playoffs, they gotta beat good teams, right?
Well, they're not going to make the playoffs.
No, but we're trying to get into the playoffs, right? Yeah, tomorrow the game's in Toronto. They got the home crowd. The guy just looked it up. You got the home crowd, right? These young players, in order for these young players to get better, they gotta beat good teams.
Yeah, but Vegas has you almost 12-point underdogs at home. So
la-di-da-da.
We can tell Dan doesn't understand odds. He thinks you're going to score half a point.
That's why I use streakers.
Yeah, that's right. There is no losing.
To challenge us in the Streakers app, check out those props. If you think the Raptors will or not get over 90 points or under 90 points, and will the Raptors be able to hold Boston to under triple digits?
If you think we'll get the first ever half a point in the NBA, that would be pretty cool.
Hey, if that was a prop, everyone could bet no, and they would win a Streakers coin. So there we go. But let's move on to the NFL offseason, and there's one player, unfortunately, we have to talk about.
Oh, it's my buddy.
Apparently, Dan and Aaron Rodgers go out for nachos every Tuesday.
If he knew I existed, he would go out with me.
So I think Dan just proposed to Aaron Rodgers right here on the Streakers.
No, okay. Not that way.
Where is Aaron Rodgers going? As I put in the rundown, and I will read this, and I quote me.
In capitals.
Will anyone give this clown a contract? All right, Dan, you seem to think teams will sign him. Why?
100%.
Why?
Why the hell not? We've been saying it.
That's not an answer.
No, let me finish. We've been saying it here in the podcast beforehand. The NFL is short on NFL talent. I agree. If you had 32 top quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers made the time. No! That's for real, bro. First short on talent. Okay?
$50 million worth of talent.
Yeah. I think he's going to go to Minnesota. I think he's going to follow shoes of Brett Favre.
Cleveland Browns.
Okay, the Browns actually make sense if you're going to do it. But you really think, Dan, they are going to move on from Sam Darnold? They're not going to play J.J. McCarthy. No, we're just going to give Aaron Rodgers $80 bazillion.
I don't say I agree with it, but I saw a meme on Facebook, so it has to be true.
No. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to say screw it and go to the European Football League.
What?
That's what he's going to do.
That's not crazy, maybe.
He's going to go to some random league. Screw it. He might start. All of a sudden, we might see him in the UFL in the next month or two.
What about the CFL?
Yeah, CFL.
There's no starting job for Aaron Rodgers in the CFL. Like, come on. What, you're going to sit Vernon Adams Jr. to play Darkness Aaron Rodgers? No way in HE-double hockey. No, if a team is dumb enough to give Aaron Rodgers a contract.
Well, he's getting paid. He might as well play.
It's going to be, and you guys are going to laugh at me.
Ha ha.
They are going to pay him very little since he's already guaranteed a crap ton of money, and he's going to go to the Dallas frickin' Cowboys.
Yeah.
Wow. Come on.
Because Dak Prescott can't get it done, and they're going to want an insurance policy, and Dallas doesn't realize they're not getting it done because they have no running game and no secondary. They just keep blaming their damn quarterbacks.
And Rodgers is going to solve that?
No, but they'll think he will because Jerry Jones is going to realize that Aaron Rodgers likes helicopters to go on his retreats. But if I was in the NFL, I would tell Aaron Rodgers to pack his psychedelic, funny gummy bears and get out of the league.
Really?
Number one, too, he causes way too much drama when he's on the Pat McAfee podcast. Don't listen to that one. Listen to the Streakers Island podcast. We're way more entertaining. But, like, come on. He causes too much drama. Let me put it this way. If Josh Allen caused that much drama, it wouldn't matter. He's Josh frickin' Allen. If Patrick Mahomes caused that much drama, it doesn't matter. He's Patrick frickin' Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers used to be like that. He is not anymore. He's more pick six for Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have it anymore. He's not mobile. He doesn't have the arm strength he used to. He gets injured for no reason. He doesn't show up for training camp. He doesn't go to practice. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but he's got one of the nicest throws. Like, he just
100%.
Yes, he has a very nice throw to the defensive secondary. I agree with you. But no, you got to move on from this clown. This clown.
Well, get a better offensive line. The Jets didn't give him enough time.
Move him.
I blame the turf in New York.
You blame the turf.
Yeah.
I blame the turf.
High percentage of Achilles injuries on that sort of turf.
Okay, we're going to go to a commercial break so I can get something stronger than milk to put up with these two boys. When we get back, we're going to talk about the Calgary Stampeders, who will definitely not be bringing in Aaron Rodgers. Plus, we're going to talk some Blue Jays. And Dan will give us his island mindset, which will probably be when life makes you lemons, sign Aaron Rodgers. We'll be right back.
Come on in. Oh, there's an opportunity knocking right there. All right, Streakers
More for
Nation.
your money.
Big news.
Yeah.
We have more for your money. Joining the Streakers Nation and the team. It takes a village to do something that we want to pull off. We're so excited. So download the latest Streakers app. Watch for the updates. Watch for more happenings. Coming for more for your money. Let's go streaking.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast. I had my much stronger beverage. I'm feeling a little better. I can control myself again. Chazzy just drank another liter of milk.
But can you control your bladder while it's drinking?
I have
another emergency commercial break and go and have bathroom.
I have bladder
This
for
might be in
days,
your pants.
boys. Unlike Aaron Rodgers, who probably has his own porta potty for his own demon special. But enough about Aaron Rodgers, and let's get into the CFL. And the last few episodes we've been going over since the free agency has calmed down, if a team improved or not. So let's talk about the Calgary Stampeders. Chazzy is wearing his imaginary cowboy hat, even though it's gone. He's ready to rock here because the Stampeders, they have gotten better. There's no denying that. As much as they lost Cameron Judge, you look at the amount of offensive weapons they brought in, extended their top receiver in Reggie Bangleton, brought in Dominic Rhymes, brought in Vernon Adams Jr., kept Jalen Philpott, which I think he's going to have a big year. But my question is, how much better is Calgary? Are they a playoff team? Are they a home field playoff team? Or are they the best in the West? Dan, I'm going to start with you. Congratulations. How much better are they?
I'm going to go off the map here. I think they're going to be best in the West. I look at it. I think Dork, I call him Dork. I think Dork in BC is not going to play very well. I think Winnipeg, there's a lot of drama not bringing back Big Hill, not spending up to the cap. Carreras is getting older, you know. I think Winnipeg will still get a home field, but I don't think they're going to dominate the West. Edmonton, I think they're a little bit better, but I don't think they're amazingly better. So I think Calgary's going to win the West.
Wow. I think you're the only one who's picking that prop. But I think Calgary is a playoff team this year, 100%. I think they'll battle for home field.
So Calgary doesn't win the West. Who does in your mind, Jacob?
Rough Riders, but we'll talk about that in another episode. Rough Riders in the West. But I think Calgary is a very good team. But I do think to gain offense and to improve the defensive line, you lost in the secondary. And losing Cameron Judge is such a huge piece that that's a hard one to lose because he's not just the skill. It's the leadership qualities. And it's the pedigree, and it's your ratio as a Canadian guy who played a lot of minutes. But Chazzy, I know you got to be excited as a Stamps fan. So how much are you on the wagon here right now? Are you like Dan thinking they're the best team in the West going into this year? Or do you see them as a playoff team battling for home field?
I've made my way all the way to the front of the wagon for this year.
The Wells Fargo wagon is coming down the street with the Stampeders winning the West. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some real logic here then. I think the Stamps are very good. I think their offense improved a lot. They don't have enough depth in the running back position with all the injuries they've had. They lost Peyton Logan, who was their big kick returner. Yes, they've improved. They're a playoff team if Dave Dickinson gets his head out of his you-know-where. If he doesn't, I don't think they'll be as bad as last year just because I don't think they can be. I don't think it's possible with the amount of good players they brought in. I think you got to be excited to be a Stamps fan and Phil McMahon Stadium. But they're a mid-pack West team. I think the West is too stacked. And I want to say this, though. I think for many years, the last 4 or 5, it's always been, Winnipeg's going to win the West. I think the West is wide open this year. I look at all the teams. Which
That's why they're going to win. That's why the Calgary's going to win.
They could. I'm not saying they won't, right? I think the West in the CFL is wide open. I think a Western Canadian football fan, you got to be excited. But now let's head over to the East and talk about the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who just signed Johnny Augustine. Now, I really like this signing for Hamilton. Dan likes it so much, he's going to rip his shoulder off. And
I wonder if Dan Gray likes this move.
I bet you he does, because Dan Gray is always saying to me, we don't have enough depth in the running back because Greg Bell was just one guy. And then they go get Johnny Augustine, who in limited action has put up decent numbers. With 222 carries, has 1,270 yards and 3 touchdowns in his career. Yeah. Now, the thing is, in Winnipeg, he hardly gets the ball because of Brady Oliveira. But when he got the ball last year, he was averaging just under 6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Wow. I think in Hamilton, where he gets the ball a lot more, I think he puts up a 400 or 500, maybe anywhere from 500 to 700 yard season. I think he has a good year. I think this is a big move for Hamilton. And this is the 8th guy from Winnipeg they brought over. And I think Hamilton is just trying to bring in some championship pedigree. Augustine's
won. I lost 3 times.
Well, yeah, that's true, which sucks. But at the end of the
day,
day,
see if they get beat with Hamilton.
Although Hamilton's like, if you can't beat him, join him. But with Augustine, what's great, he's Canadian, number 1, helps your ratio. Number 2, he is a strong running back, great for the backup position, a good insurance policy in case Greg Bell has to fall off after what he did last year as a rookie. But there's no pressure on Greg Bell thinking you're going to lose your job. Number 3, Johnny Augustine plays special teams, which is just really big in the CFL. You don't have dedicated guys who just play the special teams. So Augustine can play special teams. He's done some kick returns, a lot, but he's done a little bit. He's a really good special teams tackler, and he's really good at the onside kick areas, which is something Hamilton really struggled at last year. He's got good hands. So I really like this move for Hamilton. Is this the move that's going to be like, oh, that's the missing piece to win the Grey Cup? No. But it's kind of like when you're in other leagues, like in the NHL, for example, when a team picks up a 4th liner that you don't think is going to do much, but they make that one big shot block that you really need to win a game. Johnny Augustine might be the one guy to make a big play when other guys are resting or make that big special teams tackle. I really like this move. And I think it's very important to bring in guys who have been to the championship finals and bring in that experience. Would you guys agree with me there that Hamilton really needs that championship experience in the locker room?
100% dial. And Gregory Bell, I think that's his name, right? He had a good year last year, but he was a rookie. And a lot of times rookies have something called a sophomore slump. So I think this is Augustine's big chance to be a big player. And I think he's going to get anywhere between 800 to 1,000 rushing yards.
So are you saying you think Augustine's going to take over the starting role?
Yes.
Wow. Wowzers. Chazzy looks perplexed. He can't believe you just said that. But Chazzy, how important do you think it is to bring in some guys that have been there in the championship to a team like Hamilton that really has been struggling to get into the playoffs, or when they get in the playoffs lately, they get booted out first round?
Well, they seem to be that team that, like you said, they're on the cusp of one play here, one play there. And like you said, you bring in a championship pedigree of maybe that play goes your way, and then you're on the winning end. So no, it definitely makes a difference, especially I find in the CFL where you only got a handful of teams on each conference, right? So it's definitely important to have that championship vision and pedigree.
Absolutely. And I think Hamilton, the fans are getting sick and tired of waiting. I will give Hamilton fans respect for this. They are so passionate about their team. You see Tiger Cat merch everywhere in February. Like, this city loves their Tiger Cats. And the window on Bo Levi Mitchell was closing. You brought in Kenny Lawler to improve the offense. Yeah, you lost Dunbar, but to lose Dunbar, bring in Lawler, you're fine. But the running game needed a backup situation and insurance policy, and this is a great insurance policy with championship pedigree. But let's move on to the Toronto Blue Jays. And Dan's very happy. And I know I was going to talk. But the Toronto Blue Jays, they've won their first 2 spring training games. And, of course, people are jumping on the bandwagon. Chaz, you said bluntly off camera that you don't think this means anything for this team that they've won these couple spring training game camps because they still got a long way to go.
The cleats aren't even broken in yet. So, yes, you beat the Yankees and the Red Sox. And you actually came back down 6, where they're down going into the 9th against the Red Sox. So, yeah, it's spring training, still early. We still got to see that bullpen in action. The bats can stay warm, but yeah, I don't know. Until we can see them hitting the field. I just have them around that 500 mark, and in the East, you're not going to make the playoffs with 500.
And I'll say too, we talk about pitching. Yeah, the Jays won their first 2 spring training games, but they gave up a lot of runs again. And I worry that this team doesn't have the bats to hit themselves out of trouble. But Dan, I think you're more optimistic than we are, aren't you? Like, at least wearing your Blue Jays shirt, you look more optimistic.
Well, I'm not sitting here saying they won 2 spring training games are going to win the World Series. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying that there's been a lot of drama, and I guess you can call it negativity with the Guerrero situation, okay? And with them being so bad last year and different things like that, it's just nice to see them start off on a positive note. And when you start off, you start in baby steps, right? And this is a baby step. So I'm not blowing out proportions and saying we're going to be next World Series championships, but I'm just saying it's a good start. It's a good baby step to hopefully something better for this year. So
now, did anything come out of Saturday with the non-signing? Like, are they just moving forward? And because I haven't heard anything, so are they just okay? This is it. We're going.
Looks like they're just moving forward. Remember, too, Bichette's got to get signed, too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the Jays are in a really weird spot where they're in a win-now mode with a team that's built to win later.
Yeah.
Like, and so you either gotta buy early or you got to be ready to sell.
Yeah.
But I want to be more optimistic, but I think the drama in the Jays locker room is a big issue with Guerrero and with Bichette both not being anywhere near deals done. I almost think you got to move Guerrero early if they struggle early and just be done with it. Don't be like Vancouver, like the Vancouver Canucks in the hockey, right? You waited way too long to move JT Miller. Now you moved him and Elias Pettersson's playing like dog crap, and it's just not working. So if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, be smart. Move on.
I'm just going to say something crazy because I say crazy stuff on the Street Siren podcast. Is this the time where you fire the management of the Blue Jays and say, hey, you GM can't sign these guys, so let's bring someone in that can?
I mean, I wish they did that in the first place, truthfully. I can't stand
why not? Like,
this is year 4? Is it year 4, year 5 of the pairing?
Yeah, so let's fire him now.
Spring trading, you're 2-0, you're gone. I want it to be 0-2. I want a tag.
And I don't like that manager dude either.
Yeah, I just don't know about the Jays, and I'm going to bring this in, and even though this wasn't on the script, but screw it, why not? That's how we rolled the Stricker Sound podcast. Do you think this could hurt attendance?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. They've made that ballpark more like fan-friendly, family-oriented. They've set a great atmosphere down at the ballpark, that's for sure.
It's like a Chuck E. Cheese now.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's more of you're going down for entertainment and enjoying a ball game than sort of like going down to as that sports fan and curse or yell at the umpire.
But what if there's no enjoyment out of the ball game? Right? Like we went to a couple games last year and there were games they were just really hard to watch. Like they were bad. Yes, and I get what you guys are saying. The atmosphere is great. But do I want to go down there and spend $25 on a Big Mary, not sponsored by Mary Brown's, and watch the team suck?
Maybe you want to watch the other team. It's the only Major League Baseball team in Canada, right?
That is a Toronto Maple Leafs answer fan of what you do during the playoffs. Watch another team. Oh, I get what you're saying, but you could make the same argument about the Raptors. And when they sucked for a long time before they won that championship and started to build, they couldn't get butts in seats. Now, I will say Jays tickets are dirt cheap. They have like $20 ones. You can just walk around and drink $20 beers. So I get it. And I get what you're saying, Chazzy, too. It's a more family-friendly venue. But they spent all of this money on the Sky Dome, but they're not willing to spend all the money on the players. And that's what I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand. Just pay Guerrero. Just 100%. Pay Bichette, or just move them and pay someone else.
100%.
Don't get it. Give them unlimited Tim Hortons if they come to Canada. I don't know. You got to do something. And I agree with you, Dan. Maybe it is time to move on from management. Be like, look, you had one job, which was to keep Vladdy Guerrero because we didn't trade him last year, and you failed. Yeah. Goodbye. And then maybe you can get the negotiations up again. Look, we're mad this deal didn't get done. We got a new GM. Will you please talk to us again? We'll bring cookies.
It would send a big message. It really would.
There's another thing I'm interested in this year, and I think we just said it on the chat. There is the balls and strikes, where as a team manager, I think is it just during spring training they're able to make one or two calls to call in video. Let's call it video replay, called ball or called strike. So that's going to be very interesting. I think for. If they keep that through the full season, that definitely will be interesting.
I'm all for that for baseball because I don't think that'll take long to figure out. I don't think
no, it shouldn't. It's like, is it in the strike zone or not?
For 12 minutes, right? Yeah. Like I think it's either a ball or it's not. So I'm all for video review in that sense, but only maybe one or two times a game. I don't want to see them challenging every third pitch.
It's almost like the NFL when they say video assistant. What is it? Video assistant that we've seen it this year. It almost has to be like that. Okay, I want to call replay on that. That's got to be a quick 30 seconds, 15 seconds. Yes, striker ball, no? So
that's a good idea.
You know what, then I want to throw this to you guys since we're talking video review. And I was watching the Leaf game the other night where the opponent took forever to decide if they want to challenge it, and they didn't take a timeout, and they took forever. They eventually didn't challenge it. But do you like it that the NHL gives the coaches time to watch it?
No, there should be a time limit.
I like it in football better, where if you miss, sucks to suck.
Exactly.
Like it's slowing down the game way too much. And truthfully, it's making me hate video review. And I get why it came in because of that Matt Duchene goal that was so offside. I think I could have been in the net. But I think the NHL's got to go to the more of the football route where if you challenge it on time, great. If you don't, oh well. Call a timeout.
If you lose your timeout, so be it.
If you lose your timeout, then you didn't want to challenge it. Oh, well, which is what Craig Berube did. But I don't know if I want. I get leery every time I hear video review. Like I think in that baseball scenario, it could work fine. I just hate how video review has slowed down sports so much. We're trying to speed up the game, not slow it down.
Well, worst case, if a team takes too long to decide if they want to challenge or not, give them a bench minor penalty.
Delay a game.
Yeah, exactly, because that's literally what it is. It's delaying the game.
No, but that also goes on to the ref to keep the play going. Okay, I'm just going to drop the puck, and you're going to get it in before this play or not.
What makes me wonder, then, are the refs being told to wait?
Yeah, I don't know.
And maybe they shouldn't be. Like, look, by the time everything's done, every goal, it should take the same amount of time to get the play going again.
True, right? But we never know when those media whistle. When you're in the truck hosting the games, if there's a media break, commercials, that takes effect too, right?
Now, TV timeout's different, but I don't like it now where you can tell they're just stalling to see if the coach wants to challenge it or not. I think it's just slowing down the game. And you look at sports in general, they're all trying to get faster. Yeah. Especially MLB.
Look at baseball with the pitch clock. That was a great idea.
But that's why I think video replay limited use on pitches could work, but I don't want to see it for much else.
No.
Because video replay, in my opinion, is killing the flow of sports.
It is.
But you know what's killing the flow? our goodbye. Dan, what's the mindset we need?
Well,
Change our lives.
I got a quote today.
Ooh.
And the quote today is, everything happens for a reason. Whether it's good or bad, shapes us as a person. And it's so true. You know, sometimes you don't know why things happen at the time, but I'm a strong believer everything happens for a reason. And those things that happens just change you of the person. So it's a simple quote, but I liked it, so I used it.
And I said, hey, yeah, I'm a believer. Did you know our mother has never seen Shrek? I just thought I'd throw it out there, which I think it's crazy.
What?
If you've seen Shrek, put it in the comments.
Wow.
You are the ogre to my onion layers.
Who hasn't seen it?
Mom, our mother.
Oh,
Your mother. My mother.
I saw. We used to watch it in
daughter.
grade 9 science class all the time.
But we got to go, everyone, before we start turning into a Shrek marathon. Chazzy's going to go through another liter of milk if we watch Shrek. Thank you very much for tuning into the Streakers Island podcast. Looking for more Streakers Island content? Make sure you follow us on all our social medias and stay locked in for when a new episode releases. The video versions of the episodes are going out on YouTube the day after, so make sure you're watching out for the full video version as well. And make sure you listen to the ticker and download the Streakers app today on your mobile devices.
So you can play
Thank
it.
you very much for watching and listening, and stay tuned because we have more big news coming up. 1v1. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going any further. Dan, don't talk. I see you want to say it. You can't say it. You can't say it if I stop the recording. Bye, everyone. See you next Thursday.
Bye-bye.